dearie. I was wondering when I was going to see you again. Oh, no. You're not interrupting anything. And even if you were, I welcome interruptions. Oftentimes, interruptions are my favorite part of the day. No, I was just reading through Penum's journal again. You know, this journal, the second half of it is written in common after Penum came here to Whisperwind and met humans and learned common from them. But the first half she wrote while she was still an elf living in Namasera. And so the first half is in elven, obviously. Well, since no one can read elven anymore, I've never knew what that part said. And I thought that I would never know. But the last time that Zot, the peddler, was in town, she sold me the most interesting trinket I've ever seen. Right here. This is called a translation stone. I didn't even know that something like this existed. This was enchanted by the elves to help translate texts between two different languages. All you have to do is place this on top of the book or the letter that you want translated, and it translates right through this glass from one language to another. So now I can translate that part written in elven into common and know what Penum was saying. Yeah. So it was a little bit peculiar about this when she sold it to me. Usually, everything that you buy from the peddler comes with some crazy story attached to it. But this one, she wouldn't even tell me where she got it from. Very odd. Possibly the most peculiar thing she's ever had to sell. And she didn't say anything about it. Strange. Oh well. I will be forever in debt to Zot for selling me this. And forever in debt to whomever sold it to her. So now I've been spending every spare moment that I get poring over this journal. It's an incredible story, too. It tells all about Penum's life before she left Namasera and her journey here with her companions before they eventually settled here and started Whisperwind. It's quite a good read. She's a good writer. Oh, would you like to hear the story? Yes, of course. Now, I don't have it all translated yet, but I can read you the part that I have translated. Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you want to hear it. All right. Let's see. There we are. Are you ready? Okay. It all started with a whisper. Little more than a murmur in the wind, dancing past my ear with fleeting frivolity. As soon as I thought I heard something, it disappeared, leaving me questioning whether I had heard anything at all. But then it came back, this time a little louder, like a deep, familiar humming in my soul. This time I was sure I was connecting with something. Some type of energy was out there, well past the magical borders of the safe haven of Namasera, where I had spent my whole life. And it was calling me, Penum. At the time, I was an acolyte at the academy, one of the very few chosen by the master mages to learn advanced rune casting amongst them. It was one of the highest honors that could be bestowed upon a young elf, and I loved every moment of it. Magic held so many secrets, so many possibilities, and I wanted to discover them all. The master I was studying under, Volka, was revered among all elfkind as one of the greatest rune casters of our history. Leaving her tutelage to chase an unknown dream would be unheard of, insulting, beyond foolish, bordering on downright deranged. I told this energy that was beckoning me as much, as its beckoning grew more and more intense. I assured the energy that after I completed my training, once I was a master myself, I would answer its call. In fact, mastering my skill would likely be useful in whatever challenges lay before me. But fate has a funny way of not listening to mortal agendas. Immune to my reasoning, the dull humming transformed into a pulsing anticipation. I felt as though I had 2 heartbeats, and it became impossible to ignore. Destiny does not always wait for us to be ready. It often, if not always, calls at an inopportune moment. But call it does. It's our choice whether we listen or not. So I did listen. Well, tried to, at least. I explained to Master Volka what I was experiencing, what I was hearing. And of course, she immediately dismissed it as the wandering mind of a young acolyte, or an excuse as to why I was distracted during my lessons. But it was real. I felt it in my very being. I had to go. As much as I tried to convince her, she would not listen. So, I made a decision I'm sure has been recorded in the history scrolls of Namasera as utter lunacy. I decided to leave anyway. To steal away in the dead of night, slip into the shadows, and leave the only home I had ever known, possibly never to return. As soon as I made up my mind, something shifted in the energies calling. It was still there, but less frantic, more solid, steady, determined. We were both ready. Even after I had made up my mind, one problem remained. I had never ventured beyond the safety of Namasera, and I had no notion of where the energy would take me. I had no idea what awaited me outside those enchanted trees. While the very notion of such an adventure thrilled me to my very core, I knew that leaving alone would be utterly foolish. I was quite skilled at rune casting, but I knew little of combat, hunting, scavenging, any other essential skills for surviving on one's own. I would need help. So, I started spreading whispers of my own. First to a few of my closest friends, and then it spread to others who felt the spark of adventure and sought me out. Within a month, I had a small but solid party of traveling companions. The first to eagerly join my cause was Corvin, a skilled fighter and a friend I had known since childhood. I knew him to be rambunctious, a bit mischievous, but fiercely brave and incredibly resourceful. His enthusiasm bolstered my own courage. Sabina was the next to join our party. A skilled rogue and a lively trickster, she and I had our differences in the past. However, we had grown to appreciate each other for our differences and had a deeply rooted respect for one another. Having her by my side would prove incredibly useful, and I knew she would not hesitate to speak up should she disagree with the decision. I considered her both a support and my accountability on our journey. The next to join was a bit of a surprise. Emmerich, a wizened cleric skilled in the art of healing. He sought me out, saying that the great lady had guided him to me. After explaining our quest, he was quick to offer his devotion as well. Having his stoic, wise counsel proved to be pivotal in the success of our journey, and knowing our quest was blessed from the Lady Fate herself further confirmed that we were making the right decision. Another fortuitous meeting led to the fifth member joining our cause, Asterin, a gentle and kindly druid. She heard of our quest from the whispers in the trees, she said. I would come to learn that she often spoke in such whimsical terms. Nevertheless, she was drawn to the adventure as much as the rest of us. I presumed that having a druid when traveling through a strange forest would be wise, and she proved her worth time and again before we even reached our final destination. The final addition to our party took some time to come round, but I could not have gotten far without her by my side. She is my dearest friend, a ranger whose skill was rivaled only by her fierce loyalty, Malva. She was the first I confided in when I started to hear the voices. Though she listened graciously, she felt no desire to accompany me on my strange journey. After the rest of the party was assembled, however, she too felt the call of destiny. Having her by my side means more than I could ever express. Once I recounted my experience with the energy, all 5 of my companions began to feel it too. A thrumming that resonated through their very essences. We were united now by the strings of fate, destined to succeed or fail together. The 6 of us planned for weeks before we set out, while the energy's call grew ever stronger. We timed our departure perfectly during the century change along Namasera's borders, just before the first dim light of dawn started to creep into the trees, rousing the forest from its slumber. We stole away without a sound. With every step further from Namasera, our determination and anticipation heightened. We were on our way, moving ever closer towards the adventure of our lives. Isn't that a wonderful beginning? I can't wait to see what happens next. You'll have to stop by again in a little while. Give me some more time to translate, and then I'll share with you the next part of the story, okay? Well, enough of this for today, I'm afraid. As much as I would love to just sit and translate all day, my books are not going to keep themselves, are they? Best to be back to business. Do stop by later, though. I'll share the next part of the story with you. Until then, see you around.